Inspired design and expert craftsmanship come together again in Yorkshire now on BBC One with Mark Curry.
Hello there, I'm Mark Curry and welcome to the Change That Roadshow, coming to you all this week from the Todmorden Town Hall. Our ace team of designers are here, all keen to change that furniture brought in by today's Roadshow audience. And in our regular masterclass, there'll be a chance for you to pick up some tips. But first, a little bit more about this week's Roadshow location. The Rochdale Canal, which flows through Todmorden, was the first to be cut through the Pennines, and its arrival turned the town into a main trade route for the textile industry, which thrived here after the Industrial Revolution. Today, it's one of the area's popular tourist attractions. Another is the market. It's been a feature of life here since 1875, and is as popular with locals as with visitors, all on the lookout for bargains. Now, as usual, our designers have absolutely no idea what's in store for them, so let's see what I've chosen today. There's this kitchen unit stuck in a time warp, and this tiny cabinet in need of a radical makeover. And with us today from our Change That team of designers are Rue Ride and Lawrence Llewellyn-Bowen. Now, one of these is a tiny, tiny little challenge. Well, not that tiny, but fairly small. And one is, well, it'll sort of take you back, I think, if you get it. 1950s, 1960s?
Hey, it's so tricky.
Okay, you choose. Go on. Which one have you got?
The kitchen unit.
Oh,
is that small or
might
big?
take you back.
Shows your age.
Yours is the small one, the bathroom cabinet.
Thank you.
Okay, let's meet the people who brought those objects in. Come on.
Excellent.
Well, where's the object? I mean, we've lost it. It's so small. Oh, it's here. Look at that. It's so dinky, isn't it, Rue? I thought you'd like this. Linda, what is it? It's a corner unit, we've been calling it. Is that right?
Bathroom.
Corner of where? Bathroom.
Yes.
What would you like to happen to it, ideally?
Ideally, I'd like it to be funky and fun.
Funky and fun.
Yeah.
What, you like sort of wild
Something
colours and
different,
things?
yeah.
Rue, two options for Linda.
Well, I think bearing in mind with the sort of brief she's given me here, I'm going to either try and go your way, make it really funky and fun, and using our favourite MDF, cut out some rather wacky shapes, stick one on the top, one on the bottom, and paint it in maybe some funky and fun colours.
Or
I was thinking maybe actually cutting out that middle panel and getting some sort of pretty fabric and putting it behind it, and taking it more down the traditional route.
No.
No.
No, something different, something really good.
so you want the first option?
The first option, yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
MDF, so we're definitely going to
MDF
need
shapes.
Handy Andy for this thing. Lots of help with the carpentry.
Yep.
Is that okay by you?
No, that's good. Hey,
Okay.
funky and fun.
Now, this kitchen unit, Janice, takes me back to my childhood because we used to have one of these in our house. We did. We used to keep all the cups and everything up there. And then this opens up, you see, and we used to have a bread bin there with the bread in and all that. But it's 1950s, isn't it?
Yes.
So how did you come across it?
Well, when I moved house 5 years ago, it was in an old workshop.
So it's just been left.
It's been left.
Oh.
Very sad.
What a shame.
Very
Sadly
sad.
neglected.
Got so many nooks and crannies.
No.
I know, it must be
Yeah.
very useful. A bit sorted out a bit. I'm sure you could find a million and one things to do with it.
Haven't you been tempted to do something to it, Janice?
Well, to be honest, I'd be too ashamed to take this to the tip.
So what do you think, Lawrence? Two options for Janice.
First option would be to make it really bright and colourful and quite spring-like, and give it a gingham paint effect, and maybe put some gingham curtains up here. Second option would be to give it a feeling of wood graining, quite sophisticated, quite grown up, with some decoupage marquetry work. You know, darker wood graining.
You can't stop if there's anything that you don't understand.
He has a problem every now and again. So we'd be doing a marqueterie decoupage with, believe it or not, parqueterie background with wood graining.
What do you think?
Option number 2, and I've every confidence in you.
Yes, that's very kind of you.
Decoupage and marquetry and parquetry.
Indeed.
Can't wait to find out what that looks
Sounds like
like.
a puppet show, doesn't it?
Take a last look, Janice. It will look completely changed at the end of the programme when you come back and see
Anything's
it.
a bonus.
Now, the masterclass is where we learn the design tricks of the trade. This is Linda Barker, of course, and Alison has brought in this wonderful table. Well, it looks more wonderful now than it did when you
It was
first
pretty
arrived.
horrible, wasn't it?
Where did you get it from, Alison?
Well, you know that part in the marriage ceremony where they say, with all my worldly goods I thee endow? Well, I got this.
So are we talking about this particular colour that it's going to be?
Well, no, this is going to be the base colour. What I'm going to do is a paint effect before I start the stenciling. And I'm going to do like a sandstone effect, sandstone colours. So it's quite
Alison,
neutral.
ever stenciled, or are you any good at paint effects or anything like that?
Absolutely not.
We'll keep it nice and simple because Alison's learning.
Okay, Mark.
Andy, you've got to stop. Oh, this is for Rue. You're doing it all for Rue, yeah?
Peru, indeed it is.
So is this the template that she's cut out?
Look at that,
What's this for then?
I think it's going on top of the unit, on the top one, on the bottom or something.
Oh, right, okay.
So,
She's not going to a party or anything. It is for the unit.
I think she's making it for you, to be honest, Mark. Lord, King and that.
Thank you.
What I want to point out is here, like, look, this is a designer for you. Look at this. Instead of cutting it out of one sheet, they've kindly stuck it together with little bits of tape.
Right.
But they expect me to cut it out of one bit of MDF.
Of course.
Right? Nah, but there's a trick to this, though.
Is there?
Yes. We're using a blade, which is half the thickness of a usual jigsaw blades, yeah?
Yeah.
And what this is, where you get these tight curves like this,
Yeah.
this will let you go round it, as you can see I've already started doing. Whereas this one will jump and bind it and just make it such a
You've done
really
that very
bad
neatly,
cutting
if I
away.
may say
Do you
so.
like that, do you?
Very, very good indeed.
Would you just stick that on while we cut this
Oh, I
last
thought you
bit?
were going to ask me to do it then. I was going to say no. But I will watch you. Okay.
You're making me redundant. I can't keep having you do all
Go
my
for it.
jigsaw work.
Now this is just a glaze coat, a scumble glaze, which is for broken colour work. And I've mixed it with a little squeeze of artist acrylic colour, about 250 a tube.
What does Scumble do? You say it's for broken paintwork. But
Yeah, I want the translucent quality of, I don't want a solid coat on it at all. And also it just dries to a very, very tough finish. So if you splatter it with water while it's still wet, that'll sit on the surface and prevent the paint drying out on the dots
that right?
underneath it. Yeah,
Or-
big dots, which is going to dry the paint around each little splatter. And then after about a minute or so with a hairdryer, I'm going to lift it all off with the J-cloth. And so I get that sort of really, it's like a piece of sandstone. It's very, very speckly.
Well, I've already sanded my unit and I've given it a base coat of this soft blue in a vinyl matte paint. And why I use vinyl matte is because A, it dries very quickly, and B, I want it to have a nice dull finish to the unit because I'm going to give it a waxing afterwards. Now you could use a vinyl silk if you wanted to have a slight soft sheen to it. And then what's going to happen is once my top coat is dry, I'm then going to gently sand it down, and then you'll see some of the base coat coming through for a very soft and subtle two-tone paint effect.
I think this is just about right. I'm just getting the last bits of the water off, just with a flat J-cloth now. We can be quite heavy-handed because it's dry, almost dry. So this gives us a nice base for the stencil.
But what I'm doing at the moment is marking out where I'm going to be putting the parquetry.
Now explain parquetry to me.
Well, parquetry is where you have a series of either wooden blocks or veneers in a geometric pattern. And I'm going to do that with a very gentle paint effect, brushing the grain into these shapes.
and
So
how
that
big
you
are the
get a
shapes?
fan.
Like this?
Well,
This
like
is
that,
it?
yeah.
So that's
And
it.
then the next hit will then be the marquetry, which is the decoupage. And I'll do a darker feature wood with that, cutting it out of lining paper.
We almost need subtitles when you design something, don't we, Lawrence?
Do you think?
I'm confused, Drew, because you painted it and now you're getting rid of the paint again. Why?
Aha! That's because underneath this top coat I had a slightly different colour, it was the blue. And what I'm trying to do is, as you can see, rub the top coat back
Oh,
to not just show the underneath colour, but the base cream colour as well.
I see.
It's very subtle, this one. If you wanted sort of a real contrasty effect, then pick two colours which are completely different. But I just wanted a rather subtle, sort of distressed look.
I can see the blue coming through.
Yep, you can see. Here you go.
Alison, Linda, this looks very intricate. What are you doing, Alison?
I'm cutting out the stencil using this electric gadget which Linda brought in. It's just melts through the plastic and makes it easier than cutting with a scalpel or a Stanley knife.
And is it easy? You've been using it.
It just glides through it, so and you can follow
Where'd
the
you get
lines
those from,
easily.
then, Linda?
From good stencil stores, really, anywhere that is selling stencils and paints and that kind of thing. It's a bit of an investment. It's about £15. So if you're doing a lot of stenciling, then, you know, it's money worth
it
spent.
makes it easy.
Yeah.
So what's the material that we're actually cutting with?
This is just a plastic sheet that's used for stenciling. You can get it from art shops. It's about £2 a sheet.
Yeah.
And it's laid on top of a piece of glass because the heat doesn't want to touch the paper that the design is on.
So Lawrence, is this parquetry in action?
Well, this is a parquetry effect.
Is that some old tea you've got there, just slopped on?
So cheeky.
What is it then?
It's acrylic varnish with acrylic artist paints in it, just dissolved in it. Burnt umber and yellow ochre. And what I've done is I've masked off the areas using this Easy Mask, which is also from art shops. It's quite expensive. It's about £5 a roll, but it is reusable. And then you see I'm just dragging it. I'm not trying to actually get an exact replica of wood. It's really just getting a grain and a texture on them. If you peel those bits off there, you'll see how the finished thing is shaping up.
And now here's an idea from designer Julie Collins on how to change a simple box into an Italian-style masterpiece.
To transform a plain wooden box, you will need some gesso, white emulsion paint, black acrylic paint, acrylic lacquer and some artist brushes. With some wet and dry sandpaper, rub the box down to make a smooth surface. It's wise at this stage to remove any fittings before you start painting the box. Stand some ready-made gesso in a bowl of warm water. This warms it through, making it easier to work with. And paint a generous coat onto the surface of the box. Once dry, take some medium-grade sandpaper and gently rub over the surface. Wipe with a dry cloth to remove the sanding dust. Then apply the second coat of gesso, once again rubbing down, and then dusting. Using a small roller, apply a coat of white emulsion all over the box. And when that's dry, take some black acrylic paint and a ruler and paint a straight line around the edge to form a central panel. Pour some scumble glaze into a tray and paint on a coat, removing any visible brush strokes by gently brushing diagonally across the box. Mix a little of the scumble glaze with the black paint and paint veins, building up random lines. The idea is to simulate the veins of marble. Then, using a softening brush, lightly stroke it across the panel in the direction of the veins. This pulls the paint into the scumble glaze to create a realistic marble effect. Paint the side panels in a similar manner and put back any fittings. Then take a photocopy and carefully cut it out. To complement the marble effect, a classical urn was chosen. Spray the photocopy with adhesive to prevent smudging. And when dry, apply some border adhesive on the back. And then place the design in the panel, smoothing with a dry cloth. Paint with acrylic lacquer to seal the box, to complete this classical masterpiece.
Might be a good idea to actually practice your marble technique a few times before you attempt the real thing, but what a wonderful transformation. Now, let's see how our brilliant designers are getting on. Rue, this looks lethal. I would not argue with you holding that gun in your hand. What is it?
Actually, this is where we begin to have a bit of fun, because this glue is called No Nails, and it simply is what its name says. You don't need any nails with this. It's really, really strong adhesive, and
So
I'm
that's
using it.
glass, is it?
A mirror. So I'm going to place this in the centre here.
How do you know it's the centre? You're just using your eye there,
I
eh?
know these
Your
things.
expert
My
eye.
expert eye. There we go. That's neatly positioned, and then press that firmly down in place. Now, next is these wonderful glass nuggets I've got. Now, these are not expensive. It's like $1.99 for a little pot, or this large pot cost me under £5. And I'm going to have to use a different glue for this, because I need one that's going to dry clear. So I've got a glass bond.
Okay.
They're glass. And literally, I'm just going to stick these in no particular order, just all round the cabinet.
Designers always say that, no particular order, but when you do it, it always looks right.
Hey, look, I'm just
always
taking
looks
them
right.
and putting them on. We're just going to cover all the old screw holes up as well, where there was an old piece of mirror apparently that had been nailed on. A few more blue, and I'm just going to randomly place them.
All right.
Once I've got my sort of order to it, then I'll start gluing. Always sort of place them first before you start, otherwise you can't play around with it too much.
It's looking good, isn't it? It's looking different.
It is going to look really good when we finish this.
Keep going like that. That's looking good.
Are you sure?
Yeah, honestly, it's fine. You're worried.
I am, yes. It was looking much better until I started putting the black in.
Well, I promise it will look great. These are just ordinary emulsions that I'm using. And this is a bit of an investment. This brush is probably about £5, so it's quite expensive. But it's good because it's got the blunt ends, and it means that once we press down like this with this stippling action, there's no paint going to bleed underneath the stencil. Do you want to come close and just have a look? Because can you see that the two colours, although they look so horrible on top here, yeah, it's that stone look that, you know, complements the sandstone paint effect.
This is the marquetry that's going on now. This started life as ordinary household lining paper, which I gave a coffee-coloured emulsion paint to, and then very roughly dragged on some burnt umber acrylic. And it looks like nothing there. I mean, it looks disgusting there. But by the time you've cut it into narrow bands and then given it a quick coat of border adhesive, this is the very strong, ready-mixed wallpaper adhesive for repairing cracks. And these really do look like wood veneers. When you come to a corner junction, allow it to pass on over the edge there and just trim it back.
Roo, we're finally here with it, the finished article.
My
What do you
crowning
think?
glory. That looks fantastic.
You like that, do you?
Now don't you mess this up, Andy.
As if I'm going to.
Right.
Let's run through a few things. All I've done, first of all, is I've just cut a 1x1 batten,
Right.
stuck it on the back, screwed through the back,
Okay.
so as you get no fixings at all on the front. And all we're going to do is when it's on there like that, just screw through, take it into the top to hold it.
So you won't see anything.
So you won't see nothing at all.
Brilliant.
It's
Brilliant.
quite clever really, isn't it?
All right.
Now, if you can hold that there for me,
Yeah, got it.
and I'm going to push on it.
Today's masterclass is complete, and well done, Alison. Well done, Linda Barker. Another wonderful achievement. It's superb.
Good.
You pleased, Alison?
Very pleased, yes.
Will it go with your, because I know you said you had this sort of cream decor in your house, so will it go with that?
It will go very well with that, yes.
Yeah?
I'm very pleased.
How do you feel about the stenciling then now? Could you do it?
Yes, I think I could.
Without
yes.
Linda?
Without Linda, I'll quite happily go home and have a go now.
Will you spend £15 on one of those amazing burners?
Try the scalpel first.
I'll try the scalpel first and see how I get on. Yes.
Oh, we can borrow a couple of scalpels from him then,
He
can't we?
can do all the cutting.
So what did you do, Linda?
Well, first of all, we sanded it and primed it, and then we put the base coat on. And remember that top coat, we distressed it slightly. We splattered water on it and lifted it off to give it a broken colour work, so it started to look a bit sandstony. And then we cut the stencil. We used the heat cutter, and then we did two-part stencils, the white bit first, and then we did the greys and the beiges on second. And then to finish it, I've just put layers of just an ordinary matte varnish just to protect it.
And now if Alison wants to polish this table or clean this table, it won't all come off on the cloth, will it?
No, not at all.
I mean, what a transformation, Alison. What do you think about the table that you brought in?
It
How
was
it
on
looked.
its way to the skip, yes.
But not for this one.
No, definitely not.
So you're really
This
pleased?
is going to stay and it won't be hidden upstairs anymore.
Great. Well, we're glad that you've learned something in a masterclass.
Thank you.
And thanks again to Linda for being a wonderful teacher.
Pleasure.
Okay, let's see what Linda thinks of her tiny, changed corner cabinet. Linda, what do you notice about your little corner cabinet so far?
It has grown a bit.
But is it better? Tell us what you think.
Oh, it's lovely. I really like it.
Yeah?
Love these beads
Do you?
and the handle.
You like the colour?
Yes.
And the two crowns?
Yeah.
So you don't mind that it's bigger?
No, not at all. And this blue coming through.
That's
the lilac.
That's Rue.
Very
It's
good.
really lovely.
Very good.
How did you do it?
Okay, well, after you left us, what I did was I gave the cupboard a quick sanding down. Then I painted it with the base colour, which is that pale blue. Left it to dry, then applied the top lilac coat. And when that was very, very dry, I then gently sanded it down so that my base coat would come through. Then we got a piece of mirror and we stuck it on using our
No
nails,
glue.
which is, and in 24 hours you'll never be able to remove that piece of mirror from there. And then cheap glass nuggets, which we stuck on the cupboard. And then Andy cut these out of MDF and attached them onto the unit. And our piece de resistance, I think, is this rather wacky handle.
So where will it go, Linda? Back in the bathroom?
Back in the bathroom as my talking point, my designer talking point.
But no longer in the corner. Now
No.
sort of main feature of the bathroom, yeah?
Yes, definitely. It's absolutely lovely.
Oh,
Love
great.
it.
Oh. Please do, please. Well done.
Thank you.
Great work, Rue.
Thank you.
Janice, it was a really boring 1950s kitchen cupboard, wasn't it? Yeah. You can only be impressed, can't you?
Yes.
Yeah? You sure?
Yes.
See what you think?
It's brilliant.
Yeah?
Do you like it?
It's absolutely brilliant.
It's parquetry and marquetry. Lawrence will explain which is which, but you're really pleased.
I'm really pleased.
So, Lawrence, how did you change that 1950s cupboard? Because it was pretty awful, wasn't it?
It was
really?
pretty beaten
With the
up.
glass in the top and everything. remember?
Nasty. Yeah, so got rid of the glass and replaced it with these half-inch MDF doors, which we cut the diamond shape out of. Sanded the entire unit down to get rid of all that gloopy old kitchen paint. Gave it a coat of ordinary vinyl silk emulsion, which was quite shiny, so that I could then do the directional paint effect on top, which was acrylic varnish. And I masked up the areas so that you get this parquetry effect. And then, of course, when all that was dry, I used lining paper, which I just dragged some brown paint over, to do the marquetry. Earlier on, when I said that there was going to be a secret surprise, it's really these two extremely fine privet balls, and they're 19th century terracotta pots, which I thought, as a great gardener, would be a way of bringing your garden into your living room. Should you feel it was appropriate for your living room?
Do you really appreciate this? Because I know that you're doing some
do.
interior design, aren't you?
Yes,
you're
I do.
You're studying some of that.
Yeah, yeah. Especially paint effects.
Yeah?
It's very, very interesting, yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
And I'm very pleased, thanks very much.
Well,
You're
it's very
brilliant.
Brilliant. You hear that?
Yeah.
That's it from Todmorden for today. Join us again tomorrow when we will be giving a facelift to a very boring set of shelves and an old larder cupboard. See you then.
Right, everyone, pay attention.
It's a big day at Galpass High.
The school has everything it requires to meet the very toughest of Her Majesty's inspectorates.
But one vital element's missing.
I mean, even we can't just lose 809 children.
School holidays come early and short, Thursday at 10 on BBC One.
Next time you think of betrayal,
I think I'm going to curl up and die because you've decided to trade me in.
you can think of your family.
If you can still feel passion, and I can feel safe.
You can think of your lover.
If she got pregnant, I think I'd kill you.
You can try and think of yourself.
I need to know it's all over. You're in my mind all the time.
Or you can have your cake and eat it. Continuing Saturday 9:20, BBC One.
Another celebrity battle of words, the alphabet game in 5 minutes.